This video is solely focusing on the gameplay, and we're basically going to look at the comparison between this game and the first Last of Us. We're going to look at some mechanical things, and we also might dabble with some theories along the way that show up in the gameplay. So if you haven't played or seen the original Last of Us game, the DLC Left Behind, or the trailers, any of the 3 trailers which you already have, then do be aware that there will be spoilers for most of those in this video. But without further ado, let's get right into analysing this gameplay. Okay guys, so the first thing we see is as the cinematic ends, we can clearly see that Ellie is wearing Dina's bracelet, which indicates that this gameplay happens after the first bit of the cinematic, when Ellie, is dancing with Dina and Jesse's there, and when she kisses Dina. We can also see that Ellie is holding a shiv and is in fact shivving this man, so they will obviously be making another appearance in the game as a weapon. As Ellie has killed this man, we can see that she is sneaking through the jungle in a crouch position, which is something we saw in the first game. We can also see that she has a pistol in her back pocket, she has a bow on her back, and she also has her shiv. So it seems like we're going to have some similar weapons to what we had in the first game. Also, another thing before we get right into it is the health bar in the bottom right. As you can see, it has 4 notches, which fill half of the circle, but in the first game that was 5 notches. Not really sure what that means, but it might have just been an aesthetic decision to make it like nice and clean rather than having 5 little notches. The next thing we see is Ellie approaching this log to hide behind. She does swear, which indicates that she knows that these people are bad news, and the whistling that those people do actually happens in the second trailer that we ever got, which everyone thought featured Ellie's mum. Here we see her avoid the enemies and hide in some long grass, which does seem to be a new feature. They seem to really be showing off the stealth in this section of the gameplay, which I really enjoyed. Ellie successfully sneaks past the people there, and as we can see here, this is something I want to touch on, we have seen 2 hanging bodies so far, and in the second trailer again that was released, we see 2 hanging bodies. Specifically, one of them has their stomach cut open with their bowels like hanging out, and that is something that we're going to see coming up in a moment. However, I also just want to mention how on the left hand side of this body we see a poster which says "May she guide you." Now the question is, who is she? What is this woman? Who is this woman? And I'm wondering if we'll get that question answered, or it's maybe an Easter egg to something else that I'm not aware of. If you know if that's an Easter egg to something else, then be sure to leave it in the comments, but it's just an interesting thing to pick up on. Here again we see her get into the long grass, but this time she actually lays on the ground, which is a new feature. And then what's happening in front of her is obviously what I was talking about before, how this man, we can see he is actually stabbing the other man who is hanging in the stomach, which is what happens in trailer 2. We see a person with their bowels hanging out, and these people are dressed very similar. They're holding torches, and that is something that they were doing in the second trailer as well, which makes me almost certain that this is the same group that we saw in trailer 2 just years on. That's quite interesting. It might add to some theories about Ellie again finding out about who was involved in her mum's death or something, or maybe she can get more information from these people about her mum, because clearly they cross paths if trailer 2 was in fact depicting Ellie's mum, because these have to be the same people. There is so much relationships between those 2 groups, the people we see in trailer 2 and then these people. They look almost identical and they have so many of the same features, so that is just adding to another theory. And we see Ellie climbing up this wall, which is obviously something that we could do in the first game. However, we also have this very slight noise of broken glass. The sound design in this is fantastic. I must say that the sound design in this trailer, and hopefully in the game therefore, is spectacular. But the glass thing is quite important, because in the first game when we fight the main antagonist, David, it's like a mini boss fight and you're running around. If you step on glass, it does make him aware of where you are. So perhaps they're indicating that that is going to be another feature in this game, but maybe not just for, you know, final bosses, but even smaller characters might be able to hear where you are, and perhaps they'll make it more of a big thing for the like clickers and things like that, where they will be able to locate where you are if you accidentally stand on any type of rubble. So that's just an interesting thing to take note of and be careful of in the upcoming game perhaps. This is quite an interesting one. So the reticle on the bow is very different to the first game. Here we can see that the reticle is just a single dot in the middle with these two obviously lines, and the bottom is sort of a downwards arrow, and that seems to be like a power. So the longer you hold it, the more that moves down, and obviously the further the arrow will go. Whereas in the first game it was sort of this arch and you had to like position it more and hold back less. So yeah, that's quite a big change. When we approach the body, we can see that it looks like this is the new icon for explosives material, and you can pick that right off the body. So you can loot bodies now with materials, it looks like. That wasn't something that you could do in the first game as far as I remember. I never remember looting materials specifically off characters I'd killed. It was only ever ammo that I remember picking up off enemies. It also shows you in the bottom right corner with a little spanner, and I assume that means that you can craft something, and you can also see your ammo down there and which weapon you have out. And this is an exciting section of the gameplay. So as you can see, you get this little mini arch, and that indicates that someone is like looking towards you. You've only got like a couple seconds to react and hide or move, and then when you do get fully seen and you are being attacked, it goes a red colour. The next thing that happens is this evasion, and I am so excited for this. So we see this extremely smooth evasion mechanic coming out from Ellie when the man is trying to, you know, hit her with his machete, and it's so smooth. Then we see it again when she gets pushed back and dodges the other NPC hitting into the car. Evading isn't just a thing, but the fact that it also has impact on environment, I love that. And we see Ellie pick up the machete from the man that she just killed, so now we can take weapons off of NPCs when we kill them, which isn't something you could do in the first game, and that is going to be a cool feature. And that kill sequence is something that also looks very new. It's sort of like a finishing move. So Joel had a similar thing he could do in the first game, where you could sort of like finish or KO an enemy, and he would usually grab their head and like slam their head into a wall or something, and it was sort of like a finishing move, but these look so much more elegant and super awesome. We can see that she can do some vaulting now, and her running, is it just me, but she seems to run super fast. I swear you couldn't run that fast in the first game. Next we have Ellie go into the long grass, and that again reminds me of Uncharted, but what I love about this is we actually have some half decent intelligent AI going on. The NPC says she's gone into the grass.
She went into the grass. Watch yourself.
And that's all I need to feel immersed, because something that is hard to tackle, I guess, in video games, it's probably really hard to script, is making NPCs like intelligent enough but not too intelligent that you're getting bullied by them, I guess. So that is a fantastic feature in my opinion. We also see a selection of weaponry, which is nice that they snuck that in there. We can see that the smoke bombs look like they're back, their health kits are back, the pistol is back, bottles are back, and Molotovs. The bow of course is back, and the arrows are back, but as you can see it's got two little dots next to the arrow where you can go down, and later we'll see that there are actually two types of arrows that we can observe being featured in this gameplay. So we see a lot of the classics there, nothing new apart from the other type of arrow. Then this got a lot of people pretty excited. Being able to go under the car like that is super cool, and just this feature of being able to lean that we see is super awesome as well. The reticle on the pistol is very similar to the first games. It seems like they're keeping with the same very simple circle, which is fine by me. And honestly, this bit looks like a cinematic. When this fight is happening and when you get dragged out from under that car, those graphics are fantastic. And this game just seems so smooth and so elegant, and I really hope it is, and I really hope that's where Naughty Dog has spent their time Here we see the individual miss first, and then when they redraw their gun, the longer that they aim for, the smaller the reticle gets, and obviously the more precise shot that you can take. I believe that was the same in the Last of Us original game. The shot that she takes from the bow, she seems to have a long time to come back up. So perhaps impacts from weapons, it might differ depending on what weapon it is, because when she gets shot with the rifle, she's quite quick to recover, but that shot there with the proximity of the bow shot, she took quite a while to get back up again. So I'm not sure if that's a feature that might be too advanced, but it could be. It's just a possibility. We get some parkour. Ellie jumps over a ridge. That's an Uncharted moment if I've ever seen one. And here we have the same feature that we had in the first game, where you could actually hold NPCs' allies at gunpoint, and they would always like back off. But in this game, we see an NPC actually attack their own ally, which is mad. Adding this feature adds to that uncertainty, I guess, of the game, which is a big part of The Last of Us. So the fact that now this is a feature, and you might think you have like a human shield, but they just don't care. I thought that they were going to allow you to pick the bow out of the body. They might actually add that feature, but they just didn't show it in this part of the gameplay. See, here we have absolutely no ammo to work with, so it's going to be a stealth mission. And they've added some convenient grass patches there to sneak around with. There we see that she did take a bow out of an already dead individual. And this is the part that I was talking about earlier, how we see a crafting situation going on. We see that there is a secondary type of arrow now, which is explosive arrows. So the explosives that she did pick up earlier, that is confirmed to be the icon of explosives. And then scraps looks pretty much the same. They both look pretty much the same to the original, just slightly tweaked, which is nice, you know, just keep it fresh. Though Ellie shoots this explosive arrow at one NPC in this gameplay, we can see it knocks back another NPC, and I assume that if enough of them were close enough, you could probably kill approximately 3 NPCs in one blast, maybe. The kills in this game are also absolutely savage. Another feature is how you can slip into very, very small gaps. That's another awesome thing, making just it easier to stealth. Here we have a seamless transition of that guy throwing Ellie over the counter and it's smashing the glass. Again, it's another environmental interaction. It's so smooth, it's so fluid. And then we see another evasion, which is pretty awesome. We see 2 consecutively. The dodge on the second arrow I think was fabulous. She easily kills that NPC there, and what's awesome is she takes the arrows off the floor. It's very immersive. We see the NPC with a bow and arrow, and we see that they have arrows, so it makes sense that you can pick up these arrows. The player had them on them, you should be able to pick them up, and it's these things that make games super immersive. The player takes a massive hit here, and they lose almost 2 health bars. They're literally on the lowest health that they could be, but they managed to obviously finish the guy. And finally we see here that they did have 1 arrow left, and they probably could have shot that NPC, I assume, and it would have just ended the level, but they'll draw back their arrow, which is another cool thing that you can do, is take back your arrow, you don't have to fire, and do a KO on this guy. So that seems like it must be a big feature in this game, because there has been a lot of lovely demonstration of the combat in this gameplay. Again, this is absolutely brutal, and that got a big cheer at E3, which I don't know what to feel about that. Anyway guys, that was a full run through of the Last of Us Part 2 gameplay trailer, going through everything that I can think of that was like sort of different to the first game, and you know, touching on a few other things. This was probably a super long video, so thanks for getting through it, but if you did enjoy it then please give it a thumbs up, and be sure to comment down below if you think that I missed anything, or what features you think you are most excited for that we think we're going to get with this gameplay trailer. Subscribe for more content, as I might be doing another Last of Us video very soon about the timeline of The Last of Us so far. And yeah, have a great day.